Greetings. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX 777. I wanted to make this brief video touching on a few concepts that I've learned recently after going through this process known as the Oath of the Abyss. Now, what is the Oath of the Abyss? You've heard people like Jack Parsons talk about this, or even what's that dude's name? Kenneth Grant, Aleister Crowley, all that good stuff. Essentially, this is a state and a place where you come to the understanding that all of existence and all of reality is one entity, and that life becomes a conversation between you, the individual, and life, the universe, as its own entity. So that means that when different people are communicating with you, you're seeing that from the inside as different mouthpieces of the divine. Likewise, with any television show or advertisement or animal that you come across, it's all one voice. So that's essentially what it means to take the oath of the abyss, in simple terms. Now, what I've come to find from studying Buddhism and ancient yogic and Indian traditions is that a lot of what we consider modern occultism, as far as the Western tradition, ceremonial magic, a lot of that is directly stolen from the yogic tradition. Now, in the yogic tradition, they don't call it the Oath of the Abyss, but there is a level of understanding, a level of awakening, where you come to the point that you understand that there is only consciousness, and there's consciousness from your perspective, and then consciousness communicating with you from the outside. Now, when you get to that point, you begin to see the world a little bit differently. The individual self, the I, the me, is illusion. It's illusion because we're looking at the perspective of time. We're looking at the perspective of identifying with this body, with this animal, right? Now, the animal comes equipped with its own programming. It runs towards pleasure and runs away from pain. This isn't thought. This isn't life, intelligent life. This is just reaction. Now, mind and body are intricately connected. Mind is what moves body, but that only happens most of the time as a reaction from what stimulates body in the first place. So we get this endless cycle of body being stimulated, mind reacting, causing body to move again, and that's to run towards pleasure or run away from pain. And it just becomes this endless loop of reactions. Now, on top of that endless loop, we build personality. We build our likes and our dislikes, the things that make us happy, the things that we would rather not deal with. And over time, we begin to believe that all these things are us. We begin to believe that this is me. This is what defines me. But those things are temporary. They're temporary because they're all reactions. They're passing moments in time that come and go. And when you begin to see the world from this position of you communicating with the rest of the universe, you begin to see that it's this long dialogue between this greater self and this smaller self. And when you come to this point in understanding, you see how all the different religions start to connect, how there's no separation, how Christianity isn't this weapon used against us to control us. Although that's what it turned into. That's not how it started, right? It started as a way to come into this same communion with the higher self, right? Gnosticism or the Indian tradition, the left-hand path, the right-hand path, these are all different paths to get you to the same place, which is in communion with the higher self. Now, in order to start building that communion with higher self, you have to identify that everything around you is a vehicle and a device for higher self to communicate, including what you call you, what you call yourself. Until you come to that point in understanding, you're going to keep seeing the world in this scattered, separate sense where nothing connects. But everything connects. Everything connects. There is no separation. That's why the all is the all when we talk about the Kabbalion. right? The ancient Hermetic texts. The all is mind, the universe is mental. We are all figments of the all's imagination, just like cartoon characters are figments of our imagination. Every moment in time is a new process of birth and death, birth and death. Every moment. Because every moment in time, matter is in a different position, right? There's no continuity. There's constant movement, constant vibration. And likewise with thought, what you're thinking now is different from what you thought a second ago and the next second. Each moment is a birth and a death. A good way to illustrate that, somebody put in one of the comments, was like those flip books that have drawings in them, that each page is a drawing, but when you flip it, you see the person running or moving. Each one of those pages is a moment in time. Now, because we're in time, we're seeing life outside of now. We're seeing it from the past or from the future, right? So we're caught up in memories or we're caught up in dreams, but we're not looking at this moment to moment experience. And this moment to moment experience is reality. This is the only moment to ever exist. And if we're not living in this moment, we're not living in reality. And when you live in reality, you begin to see and notice from experience, not just from something that you read or heard in a video, but you see from experience that every moment is being born and dying, right? If you pay attention to your body, you'll notice that you subconsciously move to gravitate away from pain or towards pleasure. Everything is a gravitation towards or away from pain or pleasure. And when you experience that, you begin to see that this body is not you. It's an automated machine that is poked and prodded by stimulus. Then you start to see how all of your thought processes are founded upon the movements and the desires of this body machine. Until you get to the level of being able to experience that, you're not able to get to the level of experiencing the higher self, of experiencing the soul. So you have to cross that barrier first, right? You have to come to the understanding that the body is its own thing, that mind is its own thing. Both are temporary, both are illusion. What you are is beyond those things. It may sound like a contradiction, but there's not an individual self. There's only the all. There's only the higher self. But we're looking through the perspective of these mental states stimulated by this piece of matter. Don't worry, I'll go much more into detail about this later. I just wanted to make this video because I haven't made a video in a long time. So at this point, I'm looking at the comments. Greetings to everybody. Thank you, Kiana. Peace, Naga Olmec. What incense am I burning? I have no idea. It was just on my shelf. Doesn't really matter though. It smells good. Oh, thank you, Didi Love. Okay. Yeah, I've been in deep study lately. I haven't been making videos very much because I've been really trying to figure out all this stuff and put it into easily understood words. And it can start to get a bit difficult when you're dealing with higher concepts because they're more conceptual, they're not concrete. They take a little bit more work when it comes to putting examples to paper. But yeah, I mean, the real reason that ceremonial magic works and these demons and the Goetia and all that shit works is because it was stolen from the Indian tradition. And the Indian tradition talks about the two forms of coming into nirvana through meditation, right? And the one form is through concentration, through focusing your mind on a single point to where you begin to separate from the matter of flesh and the thought processes. And you more or less become one with that point that you're focused on. And by doing that, you're able to transcend layers of awareness. The other method is through, what's the word? It's like awareness, but it's insight. The other is insight meditation. And this is kind of the opposite of the concentration, because the concentration you focus on a single point, whereas the insight awareness, you kind of take everything in, right? You observe the body, you observe your breathing, right? This is where you get the meditation where you just pay attention to the breath going in and out of your nose. Vipassana meditation is a form of insight meditation. But in any case, when you begin to focus on either the insight or the concentration, you start to make and realize the separation between body and mind. You begin to experience it. It's not just something that we talk about. You begin to experience it, and that's the big difference. There is armchair occultists, people who read about stuff and watch videos and can repeat it. But there's another level of being able to experience it. And that's where you want to be. Because we can talk about this all day. It's fun and interesting, but no progress is being made. Put the stuff to work. But anyways, what I was getting at before is ceremonial magic was developed around ancient yogic teachings, right? Ancient Buddhist teachings. And when you use that concentration method of focusing on a sigil or a mantra or anything long enough, you will be able to pull information out of it. You will be able to go into altered states of consciousness. That's why when working with the Goetia, if you focus on that sigil, if you entrance all 5 of your senses, right? The mantra, the incense, right? The colors, the sigil, the robe, or wearing nothing or whatever, when you put all 5 of your senses under that spell of concentration and you focus on that sigil, it will begin to communicate back with you. Because what you're doing is your awareness is dislocating from the body and from the mind, and it's attaching to that sigil. And when you attach to that sigil, you begin to pull information out of it. In essence, you tune in, right? You get into contact with whatever energy that sigil represents. So when you sit down and you focus, you actually do the meditation. Not just sit there and light some candles and say the words, but put your awareness into it, right? When it comes to magic, the more you put in, the more you get out, period. Now, the more that you put in correctly, the more that you'll get out correctly. So that's why it's good to learn and to cross-reference, not just get all your info from one source. You cross-reference until you're able to find the most pure and distilled form of this information. And like I said, from my studies, my day-to-day studies, I found that all this ceremonial magic stuff is repeated information from the yoga tradition and from the meditative Buddhist tradition, right? So if you want to get to the meat of it, what this stuff is actually all about, learn what came out of India, right? And like I said, it even goes into what the Oath of the Abyss is about, where you see existence as one thing in its entirety. You are able to see not individual people and cars and trees and birds and shit, but you see matter. It's all matter. It's just one thing, all right? Now pay attention to this. It's matter. It's all one thing. Everything that you are able to observe and feel with your tactile senses is something called matter. No separation. Now above that you have mental states, right? And these occur from the sensory perceptions, right? You're seeing, you're hearing, right? You're smelling, right? And these generate thoughts. Both are illusion, both are temporary, both work off of each other. But here's the thing. Before the Oath of the Abyss, when you're working magic, you're trying so hard to get that one result, right? I'm trying hard to get this job and get this money, and you're focused on this one thing, and you're having trouble, you're having shaky results, it's up, it's down, you don't know how it's working, if it's working, when it's going to work, and you can continue that struggle. But when you cross that barrier of the abyss, you begin to realize it's all matter, all of creation is one thing. So when you set your intent on change, when you set your intent on a goal, instead of just focusing on that one small sliver of matter, you're focusing on matter in its entirety, and the entirety of life begins to shift for you. That's the big difference when you cross that bridge. Instead of focusing on one little effect of a ritual, you move the whole puzzle. You feel me? So, just want to make this very short video, short update on some of the things I've been studying. I would highly recommend looking a little bit more seriously at meditation. Wouldn't be right if I didn't leave you with a book. So, if you're serious, if you're going to take the time, I recommend this book here, Dharana Darshan, because this really reveals a lot of the little spoken about secrets of advanced meditation. And you'll start to see what I'm talking about as far as seeing reality as this whole thing. And instead of moving one little piece to get what you want, you move the whole structure. And this is what begins to put your entire life into harmony and into balance, right? And that's another thing I wanted to say. Before you're able to really make use of the higher levels, you've got to make sure that the lower levels are in harmony and in balance. That's why in the beginning levels, you start with Kundalini meditation and balancing your energy, harmonizing yourself, essentially. Because the body and the mind are meant to be tools of the divine, they're meant to be tools of the higher self. And the only way for these tools to work effectively is if they're in harmony, right? So that means eating better. That means stopping the alcohol, stopping smoking, stopping the chemical drugs or whatever it is. But it takes willpower, right? It takes strength of mind to overcome those things, right? Purify the body, purify the mind. This is where the shadow work comes in. The shadow work is the process of purifying the mind because you're removing a lot of the obstacles that force you into a state of reaction and a state of fear. So, this is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. I'm going to look real quick here to make sure there's not a question that I might have missed. Okay, okay. Initiation to Hermetics has yogic traditions laced within it also. Exactly. Initiation to Hermetics. A lot of that book and the techniques that it gives are talking about the yogic traditions. That's exactly what I meant. And also, what's the other book? Right? Also books like the Ars Arcanis, which is advanced magical techniques. When you start looking into these advanced books, you start seeing that it all goes back to meditation. It all goes back to India, right? And if you look even deeper, India got all their stuff from Egypt. And we don't need to really go deep into that because the elders have done that from the past 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Am I saying that these deities don't really matter and that concentration is key? That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Sirah. So if you read The Magician or listened to the audiobook or you read Basic Magic or things of that nature, yes, these entities aren't real per se. They exist as concepts just as much as you exist in the mind of the all, but they are not these floating scary monsters in some alternate dimension waiting for you to call upon them. They are parts of your own mind. You know what I've learned from working with the Goetia? You know why I don't really talk about that so much anymore? Because I've learned that the Goetia is just a system of developing psychic ability, right? Each one of these Goetic spirits are not some prince and demon of hell. These are all code words for your subconscious mind. And as you work with these entities and develop them, you're unlocking your own power, right? So Citri is part of your natural human power. Andros, Marcosia, Seer, Dantalian, all of them are parts of you. That's what they meant when they said that they're parts of the subconscious mind. Now, it's not black and white. It's not, oh, they're all just fake. There's a gray area, but essentially, these things are fueled and powered by you. It's not coming from the outside. So when bad things happen, that's because your energy was funky. Your energy was out of harmony. That's why it's important to harmonize the body and the mind before you start really working with this energy. Because it all comes out filtered through you. Can I speak on the Yao banishing and lesser banishing of the pentagram? Yeah, I can. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram is an extremely important ritual to me, at least. I practice it very frequently, and I have since the past 6 or 7 years, if not daily, weekly. And what I've learned from that, the beauty of it is when you're doing these visualizations, you're actually tapping into a lot of different advanced meditative techniques. For example, when you're doing the part where you invoke the angels, it's not about Christian angels. It's about the symbol of the elements, right? In their pure form, their pure undifferentiated form. And there's one level of higher consciousness that you can tap into where you start to experience the realms of the elements in their pure form. And it also talks about this in Initiation to Hermetics. But when you're doing the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, at that portion of the ritual, you're residing there for just a few moments. Now, if you continue this process day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, it's almost as if you're accumulating time, right? You're clocking in, you're spending more and more time in these different realms, which gives you more power, more access to these different realms. Even envisioning that white light of Kether and bringing that energy down through the body and pushing it left and right. All these different things going on in that ritual are advanced meditative practices that are mentioned in this book, Dharana Darshan, and in other places. So yeah, do the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, as frequently as possible, not to chase away bad energy, but to align yourself with the harmony of what already exists, right? The tree of life is a pattern, it's a harmonized pattern of what already exists. So when you do this ritual, you're placing your body and your consciousness in harmony with that pattern. Okay, let me keep reading here. My experience is spirit, if you let it, takes control of the process once one dedicates oneself to meditation and study. Yes, exactly right. Because another thing you start to understand, we know it. Are we back? Are we back? Did I disconnect? Darren Deverin. I'll post the music in a link. I can't think of the name of it, but it'll be below. Hatha Yoga. Yes. Okay, and as far as the banishing rituals, acting it out versus doing it in your imagination, effectively, it is best to be done in your imagination. But before you get to that point, it's highly advised and recommended to go through the process physically, right? Because you want to get used to doing this with your body. You want to get used to how it feels. So when you visualize it, it's even more vivid because you're harmonizing matter, which is you doing it physically, then you're harmonizing mental process, which is you doing it in the imagination. And once these things are fully aligned, it's in connection with spirit. It allows a channel for spirit to flow through more effortlessly. Do it physically, but do it even more in your imagination. How can I learn to successful lesser banishing ritual? I'm definitely doing a tutorial on that this year. Been meaning to do that for the past 2 years, but it's definitely coming out this year. I mean, you can read about it. There's videos that show you how to do it. It isn't that difficult. The main thing is memorizing it, memorizing the process. That's the main thing. It's kind of long, but you can find it online. Yeah, yeah. So you're exactly right, Sierra. It's all coming from you. Okay, Kurvan, you're asking when you spoke about shifting the whole of reality rather than just a piece of it, would this occur from raising your vibration to match the intention or from a change of perspective? It's both. It's both. From raising your vibration, you're at the same time changing your intention. But yeah, that's an awesome question. That's an awesome question. But like I was saying before, it cut me off just then. There's body, and body does its thing, but it's not in control of itself. Body is operated through processes of mind. Now, we think that mind is in control, but it's not. Mind is operated through processes of spirit. So, this whole thing about raising your vibration, it's an intent that is sent down. And as long as you follow that trail of raising your vibration or whatever you want to call bettering yourself, you're going to be led to the space where things begin to fall into place for you, right? So that should take some of the stress off of it as far as you doing the right thing or the wrong thing. Can I do a video that shows lesser banishing ritual? Yeah, I can, and I will. And I know you've been asking for this many times. I'll get to it. All things in due time. But I've got to go. Got to get started with this Magus Academy meeting. Um, of course, I'd recommend that you guys join it if you have questions for me and you want to connect with other like-minded individuals. But I'm leaving now. So this is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. Great to be here with you guys again and see you. I'll be putting out more videos here about this higher level stuff. So stay studying, stay in the book, stay in the practice. Keep your mind open. Don't be so rigid, right? Be flexible because we don't know shit. I don't know shit. I read some stuff, I practiced some stuff, but you don't know shit. So don't be so closed-minded. Don't be so stubborn. Be teachable. Learn, right? Learn. Because when you're closed-minded and stubborn, you're rigid, you'll be broken. You'll have to be broken in order to get the lesson across. So be flexible, right? Learn to submit to spirit when it tells you. Because, like I said, mind is not in control, spirit is in control of mind. There's a higher thing going on here. I know we like to convince ourselves that we're in control and we got everything figured out. We don't, right? Be comfortable with that. Be comfortable with the fact that you don't know. You're not supposed to. You can't, not in this experience. So get in touch with a higher experience. And it's easy. It's not hard. It's easy. I'm telling you it's easy because it's easy. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. I love you guys. Peace. How do you end it? Oh, there it is.